All right, welcome everyone to this live chat. And if you've been here before, then you know how to do it. It's basically where you ask questions and we'll do our best to answer. And we're going to, it's just how the world works. When people pay for questions to be answered, we are going to get to those first because they paid us, and it wouldn't be fair for them to pay for a question to be answered for us not to address it. So we will be going to those first. We'll get to free ones if we can, but usually there's a lot of paid ones, and so we get those. So if you can, pay a few dollars and ask a question, that's kind of just how it's going to work. So Ken's job is to know when we have questions, and you can take free ones until we get a paid one, however you want to do it.
Yep. Okay. I just jumped in the chat. I can see it now, so we're all good.
All right. But yeah, there's
All right, I got one.
all right.
No contact for 6 weeks. Thought he'd learned his lesson. He didn't make it 2 damn days. Right back to where we started. He's gaslighting me and blaming me all over again. I'm just kicking myself. So it's not really a question as far as it's more of an emotional, justified comment. But
It's a complaint with desire for feedback, right?
yeah, there you go. I like that. Yeah.
Could you read it again?
Yep. Just gonna find it here. No contact for 6 weeks. Thought he'd learned his lesson. He didn't make it 2 damn days. Right back to where we started. He's gaslighting me and blaming me all over again. And I'm just kicking myself.
And no contact. How long?
6 weeks.
And he's gaslighting her. So, I mean, does that mean they're talking again? Is that how you interpret that?
And I know sometimes they use ghosting and gaslighting interchangeably, but I'm going to assume, and T Red, tell me if I'm getting this wrong, but it sounds like once they had that connection again, got pulled back again. Kind of just toying with him, I imagine.
Okay. Because obviously gaslighting is very different from um,
Ghost.
ghosting. So I'm kind of confused on that one. I feel like we need
Gotcha.
more info. But let's say he's ghosting her. Um, a lot of people will reach out and they'll say, "Why are you ghosting me?" And they'll try to kind of poke the bear a little bit. You really have to just give them 100% of that ghost. You've got to ghost them right back. Once you don't hear from them, you've got to leave the ball in their court. And I mean, that's really it. If that's all
Yeah.
she's saying, is
Yeah.
what do you think? What's your answer to that?
Yeah, they just added, yeah, I let him back. Yes. So I think we're on the right track. Like some people look after no contact, it works, but it doesn't. I'd say the good version of it works is when they realize what they've lost. They realize they're losing somebody of value. They come back and they respect, they cherish, they value what they lost. The bad guy version is they come back because you wounded their ego and they just needed to know that they can still get you. And once they know they can still get you, they don't really want you because it was never really about you.
Yeah. Um, and that's a really good point. The last thing you said. Sometimes it can be that way, especially if it's somebody who just wants to feel your desire and wants to feel that they are, the apple of your eye, and they're getting all your lust and all your begging and pleading. And some people really feed off that.
Yeah.
So
It's addictive knowing you can have that kind of power over somebody.
yeah, yeah, it definitely can be. And unfortunately, a lot of times people respond to somebody who's that confident because it's a form of confidence, but it's
Yeah.
it's messed up. It really is. So,
Yeah.
well, I do see some others coming in, so let's hop to another one here.
All right, I got the Reaper here. Hi, Coach. I need advice. My ex has been through a really abusive relationship in the past. We've broken up twice, both initiated by her. One day she's sweet, the next she's cold. What do I do? No contact?
So they're together right now, right?
Let me see. Well, he's referring to her as my ex, so I'm assuming right now that she's on the cold end of the swing. Broken up twice already. One day she's sweet, the next day she's cold. So in that kind of back and forth.
Yeah. And so we're going to get into the possibility of this being a borderline type of situation, borderline personality disorder. type of situation, or somebody who is really used to being manipulative with their behavior. And so if this is a person who is used to mistreating people to get what she wants, it's a she, is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah.
So, when somebody's used to that, then that's what they're going to do. And they're going to get really upset when you don't play ball. And so sometimes I'll tell people, you can't accept this treatment. You have to back off, and you have to be firm, even if they are disrespectful to you, or they just basically do something that's very inconsiderate. Then you have to say, without yelling, without showing them that they're rattling you, you have to be able to say, I don't want to deal with this. I don't have to deal with this, so I'm not going to. You have to kind of let them know, and then you become the dark side of the moon and you back off. It's their job to cross court and make up for things and tell you that. So if she's hot and cold, first of all, you do need to call her on it if there's a specific action or statement where she's being disrespectful. All right. If it's just moodiness and there's not really something that you can point to as, this is unacceptable, this is not how you treat someone in a relationship, then you can't really do that. And if that's the case, first of all, they have to know they can't rattle you, which means you don't match them as far as their mood, you don't yell, and you just basically allow them to do these things, and you're going to almost treat it as though you're above it and it's humorous. And this will sound bad, but it's almost like you're dealing with a child. So let's say that a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old's in a bad mood. You're not going to let them change what's going on with you. You're not going to let them manipulate you with that attitude, with the pitching of a fit. It's sort of like a child in a toy store. They're not getting the toy because mom and dad are like, we have to live in the real world here where we have to actually be responsible with our money. And this kid's pitching a fit because they don't understand how money works. And they don't understand that this is the result of someone's work. And so it means a lot. So they're going to keep pitching the fit. So a good parent is going to find a way to save some face. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're going to have a yelling child and everybody's going to be looking at you and you just have to deal with it. But basically, if you give in, you're only going to get more of it. The child learns, when I do this, I get this. And that's when someone is manipulating you with their attitude, with their mood, or they're going to be where, I'm not going to treat you like a normal person. I'm not going to be considerate to you like I would other people. And you're going to do what I want you to do. Because if you don't, this is how you're going to keep being treated. If someone is treating you that way and they're manipulating you with their actions, then you teach them to keep doing it if you give in. And so you've got to find a way to not give in and to not show anger, because anger is usually a sign of pain. And first of all, you don't want to hurt. And so I hope that you're able to kind of rise above it and not take it personally. But second of all, you don't want her to know that you can be rattled by her, that she can rattle you. So that's really important. So it's a tricky game. And I'm just going to say this, Ken is really good at talking you through dealing with somebody like this. I mean, this is kind of his bread and butter here. And his info to book a call is right here, myexpatcoach.com/coach-ken. And I would really suggest a call if you're dealing with somebody who manipulates you with their attitude, whether you know for sure they're doing it or not, but they're in and out and hot and cold, and they love you, and then they're mad at you, and one minute you're great and the next second you can't do anything right. This is the guy to talk to right here, because that sounds a lot like borderline to me, and he's going to say more to that. But you need to book a call with him if you're dealing with somebody like this, because this is one of the top guys in the world you can talk to about this. So I'm going to turn it over to Ken now to answer this question.
No, thanks for the high praise, man. Coming from you, that is high praise. I appreciate it. Well, I'm gonna echo a lot of what you said. I mean, honestly, when they come back, look at it this way: it's one of two things. If it's not a personality disorder like borderline, then it's kind of a personality immaturity. So it's like, it could be narcissism, it could be borderline, it could just be shallow. It could just be somebody caught up in themselves and self-absorbed or egotistical. Any one of those cases, it's the same reaction. It's what Lee's saying. It's like, reprove that the feelings you have for them, it's not coming from a place of dependence. It's not coming from a place of weakness. It's not codependent. You have to reframe that your affection and that your love for them is coming from a place of strength. The best way to do that is when they disrespect you and they walk away, don't chase. Projecting strength is way more attractive. And in the case of the shallow, the narcissistic, or the borderline, when you show this strength and willingness to walk away, it's a wound to their ego. They don't like the fact that somebody can get over them. So it effectively draws them back. The problem is, it effectively draws them back. And if they keep doing this to you, then you're probably dealing with somebody who's either shallow, narcissistic, or borderline. So then you have to just kind of draw a line and decide, okay, I'm actually prepared to walk away unless they really get some help, unless they really change, unless they kind of have their come to Jesus moment. So if you repeatedly keep taking somebody back, then whether you know it or not, you're repeatedly teaching them that your affection for them is not coming from a place of strength. It's coming from a place of desperation.
Yeah. And it also means that you're willing to take mistreatment because you value them so highly. And here's the problem. Some people, especially, I don't like to just slam large groups of people, but in the Western world, in the United States, there are so many people who have been raised and given pretty much everything they want, and life is easy. Their parents and people around them try to make it to where there's no negatives. And that's coming out in relationships now because people will see another person as there to serve them to some degree. And so if they think that you are so upset because you're so in love with them and you're willing to do anything to make them happy, and they don't feel the same way about you because they have never had to do that for anybody. If that's the case, then they know that and they make that connection, and that lowers your attraction because they see you as beneath them because they're not willing to do that for you, but you're willing to do it for them. So watch out for that. Book that call with Ken to really get into some of the details on dealing with somebody who's probably borderline or at least acts like it. Let's get to the next one though, Ken.
All right, we got. Oh wait, sorry. Just to follow up. Additionally, same one. They did another super chat and said, additionally, as of recently, she told me she misses me, loves me, and then later she'll change her mind and tell me she wants to just move on. Yeah. So it's a reinforcement of what we just said. So yeah, everything we just said still applies. The next one we've got advice dealing with traumatized, anxious dumper, male. I've been in no contact for 6 weeks. He's posting sad stuff on social, but hasn't reached out.
Posting sad stuff on social, but hasn't reached out. I'd love to have some more details, but so when he's unsure, is that what it is? His feelings fade and then they come back. So that could very well be a limerence addict. I'm going to type that here. And I know a lot of you have heard me talk about this, but limerence addict. And I have a video on limerence that I'll get the link in here, or you can search my channel after the super chat, but please don't leave yet because you may miss some things that are being said here. But a limerence addict is somebody who's, I don't like to use this word because it's overused, but they are basically addicted to the newness of a relationship, the beginning of a relationship where there's all these fireworks and you have dopamine and oxytocin, and there's some other chemicals too that we don't talk a lot about, but there's a chemical cocktail basically that is produced in your body when you are in limerence, and it's designed to have two strangers actually want to be with each other, or else why would you want to be with a stranger if you don't have some sort of intense phenomenon drawing you close to them? And that's what limerence is. And so it's actually a great thing because it gives you motivation to get to know someone and to get close to someone, but it will fade. That's how you were created. That's how your brain was created, to replicate the species. You need to be around a stranger and get close to that stranger. And so what happens is eventually limerence fades, and that's true of most things related to chemicals. Your response to them will fade. And so your response to the dopamine and oxytocin will fade some. And you will be left with companionship and commitment and a feeling of family with this other person. And that's a great thing. But a lot of people don't understand when they're feeling some different emotions, when they're not feeling those sky high things. And so they will chase it. And that's a lot of times what happens. They'll pull back and they'll say, I don't know, I just don't feel the same, because limerence is gone. And it feels good. Limerence is kind of the sugar high of a relationship. And it's there to it's like getting your dessert first in a lot of ways. So you will finish the rest of the meal. which is companionship, commitment, feeling of family, and intimacy, which you don't have when you first meet someone. So it's a good design, but people will, just like anything else, it can be abused. And people will
Yeah.
get addicted to limerence and they'll think that that's what real love or that's what love is. Limerence is a type of love. It's a passionate love. It's not a companionate love, which is what you will develop into when you're with someone long enough. So this, my guess is that he doesn't understand what's going on. And a lot of people don't. I wish they taught this in schools, that when you're in a relationship, it will change. Your feelings will change. They will adapt. And that doesn't mean that the relationship's over. It just means it's in a different stage and it's actually more mature. If you're not having to depend on all that, the fireworks and the emotional highs, if you shouldn't have to depend on that the whole time. A mature relationship can be pretty happy with boring nights, laying
Yeah.
in bed, watching iPad together, reading books quietly, and every now and then telling them, hey, listen to this. In other words, it's not always about excitement. And so people have to learn that. And
Yeah.
Ken, how would you suggest, though, now that I've said that, what should she do if she's got a partner who's a limerence addict?
Yeah. I think too. Seeing. Oh wait, I should mention this. Everybody's mentioning it. That apparently they can't see us. It's just a black screen. So I don't know if there's an option to turn on a camera or something like that.
Wow. So we're just in black screen. That's awesome. Well,
It
you go
says
ahead and answer that. And
audio's coming in clear. Yeah.
yeah, that's great. You go ahead and answer that, and we'll figure this next. We'll figure that part out.
Yeah, I would say seeing them reach out in social media too. Like there's kind of three prongs that they'll hit you with a lot of times with your ex when they want you to reach out, but they get to maintain that position of power or control during the breakup. They'll hit you with the pity, poor them. They're having a really hard time, even though they're the one that broke up with you. The other one is the silent treatment, and then the other one is anger. So you're kind of seeing the wavering, right? So imagine that the breakup is kind of like a tower. You're starting to see it shake. There's no chance that he's posting sad stuff and just counting on the fact that you're not going to see it. He's putting it on a public access page. So he knows, he wants you to know that he's sad because instinctively he knows it's going to trigger you to kind of reach out. Hey, is everything okay? I saw your post. I heard about your post. So when you see it start to waver like that, don't do anything. Let it build. You're getting evidence that it works. But a lot of times it's like the door is starting to reopen. And when we see the door crack open, because we're in anxiety and the breakup's been painful, we want to kick the door in the rest of the way. It's like, hey, I got a hint that you're sad, that you might be regretting this. Do you miss me? Because I missed you. I love you. Do you still love me? So just kind of hold back, resist that urge. But I really want to touch on what Lee said because I love what he said. I mean, he's Coach Lee for a reason. There is a difference in that passion and companion love. What's supposed to happen in a healthy individual when you're in a meaningful relationship, any meaningful relationship is going to involve sacrifice. Well, there's actually kind of a bonding experience that happens when you start sacrificing for somebody else. So that's supposed to be the mature thing that replaces that what we kind of refer to as limerence. But somebody that's kind of egotistical, narcissistic, self-absorbed, emotionally immature, maybe they weren't raised with any kind of a discipline or realistic view of life, so they don't get that as much, and they can become like those limerence addicts. But you just need to hold that position. Let them come back to you more. If they get you back that easily, then once they have you back, they're not going to value you for as long or as much because they know, hey, it didn't take much to get them to come crawling back to me. I just need to post something on social media to let them know I just have a hint of sadness. And you don't want that. You're training somebody to just do that to you anytime the whim hits them.
Yeah, that's a good answer. So while I am still trying to get the screen to show, Ken, do you want
Gotcha.
to go on to the next one?
Yeah, that works. Let's see. All right. Hey, I've been watching your videos ever since my girlfriend broke up with me and cheated on me. I was in a long distance relationship for 27 months. I'm doing no contact. Will it still work if it's long distance? If it's a long distance relationship?
Oh, those are the tough ones, and I that's probably the most common question. So long distance is very difficult. All right. And I'm not telling you that to discourage you. If you're in a long distance relationship, it can work and breakups do recover, but everything is more difficult in such a relationship. And so the first thing you need to know is that attraction fell most likely because you two are far away. Even if you're both aware that you're far away and you're aware that this is more difficult and all that, it does not change the fact that things are difficult. And so everything about the relationship is going to be more difficult. And so the odds are not as good with a long distance relationship working out long term. And I know that that's not fun to hear, but that's really the reality of it. And so now we're talking about a long distance relationship that is broken up. And what we have to do is go back to what I just said in terms of that the relationship itself was under a lot of strain because of the distance. And so attraction fell because of that. And so it would seem like, well, then the thing to do is to go ahead and bridge the gap in geography. We're going to move. We're going to get back together as far as I'm going to go into their town. I'm going to move to where they are, and we're going to get back together. I wish it worked that way. A lot of times it's sort of like, have you ever seen, if you've ever been around the ocean and you see some of the traps they put in the water for the fish to swim in? It's really easy to swim in for the fish, and then it's much more difficult to go back out because of the shape of the entrance. And in a lot of ways, that's what we're dealing with here, is that it's not as simple as, oh, well, if that's the problem, then that's what I'll fix and that's how I'll fix it and we'll get back together. So no contact is still the way to go. And what I usually tell people is that there's a there is a lesser chance. The odds are a little bit less, but don't panic. All you need to do is you need to get to a situation where they have reached out to you and you two are interacting again. And I actually talk about this in my emergency breakup kit, and I know Ken can talk about it on a coaching call. But you want to have the opportunity to see them face to face again, if possible. They may not be open to that because they may think, it doesn't matter. We're all the way across the country from each other. But if that can happen, that would be great. If it's just talking, that's fine. And you want to at least get some of the spark back. And you're going to do that not by talking about the issues, but you're actually going to try to go back in time and create some of the environment and the interactions that got them to want to be with you in the first place. So don't talk about the negatives. Don't talk about the issues. Don't talk about the breakup or the distance. You're just trying to get them to have that great feeling with you that they had that made them want to be in the relationship. And that's your jumping off point, because then ideally you would see them face to face. And if it's going well enough, you want to pitch that. You want to say, can we meet, halfway, or whatever you normally do. They may say no. It's very possible.
Yeah.
You kind of have to take a few chances in that situation, though. And what you want to do, ideally, is if you can get them to where they feel like things are as they were and things are going pretty well, then you tell them, I'm willing to move where you are to be with you, and I want to do that. Okay. And again, this is not something that you do from a position of weakness. That's why you start with, I want to move to where you are. Or it may be that they want to, and you even say, would you want to move to be with me? You could even say, move in with me, something like that. Some of this is a little bit of a risky thing to do, but your odds are already a little bit lower. So you kind of have to go for it with these things. But sometimes no contact works like it normally does. It might take 2 or 3 months and you're going to hear from them. And that's when you kind of have to really get your shot in, and you want them to feel close to you. And then you want to try to do what I said, but the odds are less, but that's how you do it. And they have to know that you're going to be able to be close by, and that without them thinking these words, they're going to be able to know that they can have intimacy with you. And what I mean by that is not necessarily physical intimacy, but just in terms of, you're 15 minutes away, we can have lunch, or if you're living together, obviously it's even more so, but it's where you get to spend life together. So it's not just this person on the other side of the country who I text. It's someone whose face I see every day or most days. Those things are really valuable to a relationship, and that's how real intimacy can be built, because you want them to know the facts and the feelings of your day. How did your day go? This happened to me. You're telling them about your experiences, and so in some ways it's like they were there with you. That's what intimacy is. And as Joe Beam has said, If you say it slower, you've got it. Look, you would say for the word intimacy, into me, see. So it's where someone sees into you. Okay, it's hard to do when you're on the other side of the country because you're not getting to experience those things together. You're not getting to share your day every day. And when you do, you can't reach out and touch them. You can't hug them. You can't hold their hand. And so you're getting less of that intimacy. And that's what you want to try to recreate. It's tough to do when they've broken up with you because usually that means that it's fallen so low that they don't want it anymore. But it can come back some with no contact. And I'm trying to think. I know I have some in the emergency breakup kit. I do talk about it in some other videos, and I know Ken talks about it. Ken, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I would say I appreciate the kind words you said about me last time. I would say if you don't have Coach Lee's breakup kit, get the breakup kit. It's got really good stuff in there on the long distance, and I agree with everything he's saying, and not a big surprise there. But there are some good aspects. I'm not saying long term great, right? But one of the dangers of long distance is when that limerence phase starts to fade. Well, somebody else has access to that person you're with, up close and personal on a daily basis. So they can get pulled into limerence with somebody else, and you're not really there to counter that as much. But if that happens, one of the positives about long distance is that now you can do radio silence, you can do no contact more effectively, and give it time for that new relationship to play itself out while you're doing no contact more effectively at a distance. So a lot of times it can come back and work in your favor, like Lee says, for a short period of time. So when they come back, don't overreact, don't trigger the buyer's remorse or the whiplash effect. But when they come back, kind of play it cool, stay in the moment. But that's when you adjust and you can go back to maybe coming up with a plan to short circuit this long distance problem. But it can work in your favor in no contact. So don't give up hope. Just change it. The fact that you're further away. So sometimes it's harder to do no contact if you're in the same city. You might have the same friends. You might work in the same place. And then no contact becomes not only a challenge, but an emotional drain. So one of the benefits of long distance is that you can more effectively do the no contact when you need to.
All right. We can go on to the next question. And while Ken's looking at that, you can book a call with Ken. And this guy has been at this so long. I mean, I met Ken in 2002 or 3, maybe midway through. And shortly after, we both started getting certifications for coaching. We started going to trainings together, and we started coaching together. And we have had so many conversations. We talk about these things all the time. We compare notes. Of course, we don't use names. We keep our people private and their information private, and that's a really important thing these days. So everybody watch out for your privacy online and everything that you're doing. But he is exceptionally good. And whenever we'll do a group coaching call, that's where somebody wants to have both of us in on a call. And, they pay quite a bit for that. They always are just amazed. They're like, Coach Lee, you were right about Ken. I mean, this guy knows his stuff, and he has a PhD in the School of Hard Knocks. And I say that with a ton of respect.
Thanks,
There's few people in life who I feel like I want to run some things by them and get their thoughts on it. And he's one of them. And there's like 3. So if that tells you anything, then I do suggest that you go to that address right there, just right over here, and you book a session with Ken. It'll be one of the best things you could possibly do for yourself and for your chances of getting your ex back. So, Ken, what's that next question?
Well, on that note, this has been a Q&A with Coach Lee. Thanks for showing up, guys. And I appreciate it. It's very, very kind of you to say. And I don't want to take up too much time, but everything Lee said about me, and you guys know he's Coach Lee, so he's got some incredible advice, and he's like that in real life too. Believe me. Okay, so I did want to do a quick shout out to thank Jack, Leo, and Jesse. They just kind of did a super chat. They just gave some money. They didn't have a question. They just wanted to say thanks. So appreciate that.
Thank you so much, guys. That's a big honor. I really appreciate that you would honor us that way. Thank you so much.
All right, we got Jack. No contact for 5 weeks. She unblocked me from Facebook, but not Instagram. Does she want me to reach out, or does she not want me to reach out?
So she blocked him on Facebook, but not Instagram.
Yeah. Well, actually, reverse. Unblocked from Facebook, but not Instagram.
Okay, so he's still blocked on Instagram.
Yeah.
So this is a difficult one because people can be so such Rubik's cubes, and if you remember Rubik's cube, there's so many different combinations, and you're going to have all these different color combinations based on how you turn the thing, and that's kind of how people are. In my experience, when someone blocks the other person, there's a few potential reasons for it. One is they feel like the other person is going to chase them and interact with them, and they don't want to deal with it. It's awkward. It's embarrassing sometimes. Like if they were afraid you were going to show up somewhere, they don't want to have to deal with the fact they hurt you. They'd like to pretend they didn't, that you're just fine. That's what they would like to know until they start thinking that you're just fine. And then it kind of hurts their ego and they want to know that you are not happy that they broke up with you because they're so sexy. So, so that's one of the reasons.
So true.
Another reason is if they think that you're watching that, they could kind of be trying to get at you a little bit, like they block you on Instagram, but not on Facebook, and so sometimes they'll do that just because they want to have the upper hand a little bit by feeling like they're messing with your head, like I blocked him. And there's some ego involved in that and all kinds of things. But here's the good news. If they haven't blocked you everywhere, you have not blown your post breakup response. In other words, you have not just been awful in your response. Because if you have been, for those of you who have begged and pleaded and it's been a long time, you've done it for weeks and you've been fully blocked, that's because your response made them just want to get away from you and not interact with you at all. So if they've only blocked you in one place or not at all, then you haven't done that. You haven't abused contact, which is a much better position to be in. My suggestion, if they're blocking you, especially if it's just on one place and not on another, is first of all, no contact. You're not going to reach out. You're not going to try to say, hey, why'd you block me? The other thing that I would do is that make sure you're not watching their stories on Instagram or doing anything on any of these platforms where they can see that you're trying to check them out. You're trying to see how they're doing or trying to get an update on them. It has to be that it's almost as though they don't exist as far as you're concerned. You're not going to try to go find information on them. Now, you may be doing that. All right, I'm a realist. I get human nature. But what I'm saying is they can't know that. So you need to be careful how you do it. But it is good news if they haven't blocked you everywhere. The third possibility, I guess is the fourth possibility, is not a fun one. And hopefully it's not the case, but sometimes they'll do that if there's somebody else in the picture and they've been asked to do that. That person has said, I want you to block your ex because I'm insecure, whatever the situation is. So there's a few possibilities that it could be. The answer is that you stay away from them. And I usually suggest when somebody's playing games like that on social media to go radio silent. So not just no contact, but actually don't even post on social media. Take about a month off. And that may be really difficult. You may say, I don't want to do that. Okay, that's fine. Don't do that. But that's something I do suggest is that you just kind of take a break from social media, especially if they're used to you posting a lot. And that's what I would do. Because then they don't get quite the satisfaction because they figure you're not on social media much lately. So you might not even know they blocked you. So,
yeah,
go ahead, Ken. You take it from here.
No, dude, I love everything you're saying. I'm like quietly amening in my head. Yes, yes. Like I think, especially when they unblock and then leave you kind of blocked, it's like they're trying to give off that impression that they're strong and they don't miss you, kind of. But what Coach Lee said, look, if you've really messed it up, they'll cut off everything. And when you're really over somebody, you don't feel the need to leave the back window open. You want to close off everything because you're just happy to get away from a sticky situation. So if they're doing it, just take the encouragement that they've unblocked you, but don't let it entice you into ruining everything that you've built up with no contact. It's like, just take the good, let it encourage, and don't let it instigate or kind of trigger that, I got to get him back now. You have that like kind of fear whisper in your ear. What if this is the sign? This universe whispering thing is a real thing, especially with manifestation being so big right now. What if that's my cue from the universe? I need to act now. What if they block me again next week? Well, that's just fear talking. So don't fall for it. And just a second, what Coach Lee said about don't look at them, it makes things so much harder for two reasons. People want to look because they're convinced if I look, I get more information. If I get more information, I get a better strategy. If I get a better strategy, I'll get them back. None of that's true. You're going to look. If they see that you looked, you just gave them reassurance that they haven't lost you. So whatever anxiety was building up, it's now gone. Because, oh, look, he's still looking at my profile. If I want him back, I can get him back. And it makes it harder on you because I've seen so many people find one little piece of information from looking online and then build this world, this scenario around that one piece of information that's always scarier than it is encouraging. So when you're looking, you're making it 10 times harder on you and you're sabotaging the whole effect of no contact. So in essence, what Lee said, just go back and listen to that again because it's all very true.
Yeah, and while we're moving to the next one here, we are doing coaching training. So if you're wanting to do relationship coaching professionally, or you just want to have some knowledge and some structure on how you can actually coach someone in a one-on-one session, then we're doing coaching training and you can get more information on it. You can talk to somebody about it, which may be me for a few more days anyway, because we are bringing somebody on who will do that. But I'm going to put the address here and that'll be there and you can go check that out while Ken is getting the next question.
Yeah. And Kim Gordon, who's in the chat right now, she's been through it. So she can give you feedback on what the class was like. I'm okay, Kim. I didn't tell you I was going to do that, so I'm just going to trust you. Really enjoyed the class. Okay, so diving back in here, how do I take over a Facebook? Let me see. How do I get over a Facebook page post that announced to everyone that we are divorcing, even though I convinced him to take it down 2 days later? Now we're reconciling, but I feel a little betrayed. Oh, I like this one because it's not an everyday kind of question.
That is a unique one that we've gotten. How about you answer this one first while I'm getting some info on this website address here for everybody.
All right. Okay, so one of the aspects, the reason I said I love this question is because it's a common thing that doesn't get a lot of attention. Sometimes while you're in no contact, the pain of the breakup and some of the things that you have to endure while you're drawing them back through no contact, once you get them back, and I bet a lot of people on the chat right now and people listening later will be able to identify with this. Once you get them back, okay, great. Your anxiety drops, the happiness and that sense of relief comes over you. But then right after that, it's like, but wait a minute, why did I have to do this? And why did they do those things to me that hurt me so much, like that Facebook post? So it's a normal thing when you get relief of the anxiety that comes from losing them. It's almost like your sense of worth and pride roars to life. Now that they're back, why the hell did they do that to me? That's not okay. And this sense of being disrespected can come really can catch you off guard sometimes. So just take a deep breath, realize that when he posted it, and I don't know the details, so tell me if I'm wrong, but when they posted that, they probably felt differently. If they hadn't changed their mind, would you be glad to know you had a chance to get the result you have now? Would you trade it with the position you're in now? If so, then just I know it sounds, I'm not trying to say your feelings don't matter, but take a deep breath and just be grateful that things did work out. And you can get over a moment and you can understand that at the time he posted it, he probably didn't feel the way he does now. So it's best to just kind of forgive. But that whiplash effect with your self-respect and even some anger happens quite a bit when no contact actually works.
Excellent answer. Terrific. What I want to add is if you ever had to forgive someone for something that's really difficult, first of all, there's a book called Forgiving What You Can't Forget. I don't know who wrote it. I can't remember, but
Great title.
It's a very good title. It's a very good book, Forgiving What You Can't Forget. But one of the things that I can tell you about that book and just a principle of life is it's a great burden that you can pull from your mind, out of your heart, that you won't have to bear anymore if you can learn to look at someone and say they didn't know what they were saying, but they didn't know what they were doing. In other words, I have kids, and sometimes they will say things that are very hurtful, especially as a parent. When you do everything for this person, you work to earn to support them. You give them a home to live in. You feed them. You guide them. You give them information that a lot of times they don't understand how helpful it could be. And so it's a difficult thing because you actually, most of the time, or at least in my situation for sure, I know my kids love me. I know they do. But I also know that sometimes they say things and they don't know what they're saying. Like they don't know that it's so hurtful. And part of that's a problem because someone should know. But when you know their kids, you can kind of understand that, they've got some maturing to do. They have some lessons to learn, some experiences in life to go through. But here's the thing, the same is true with adults. A lot of times, people will say things they don't mean. I have a funny story. There's a pop singer that I'm friends with, and she used to come into town and she would get me backstage and we would hang out some, and it was a lot of fun. There's another group, this pop, they're kind of a folk band that I really like, and I've been a fan of them for years. So I'm at this concert of my friends, and this other band opened for them. And I got there late because I didn't know that band was opening, or I would have gotten there on time. So I'm backstage and I'm having a conversation with someone, the lead singer of this band. And like I said, I'm a big fan. All right. The lead singer's a redhead, and all right. So the group is called A Fine Frenzy. All right. And the lead singer's a redheaded woman. So she comes up beside me and she's standing beside me, and I'm having this conversation with another person who I've known for a while. And she says, "What'd you say?" Like she thought I was talking to her. I don't know how this came out of my mouth because I'm usually careful. I'm direct, but I'm usually very careful to be polite because I have a good sense about that, I think. I turn toward her and I say, "I wasn't talking to you." And I turn right back around. Takes my brain about 5, maybe 10 seconds for me to realize who that was. And I turned back around and she was gone. And I asked the other person, I said, "What'd she do?" And she said, "Oh, she kind of looked shocked and like she didn't know what to do, like she was embarrassed, and she just walked away." And I was just beside myself. I was like, I cannot believe I said that to her. I mean, I just turned and said, "I wasn't talking to you." I wasn't even trying to be rude. I'm just very honest and direct when I talk to people most of the time. And
just an honest reaction. I know you. Yeah. I've seen you in those moments. Oh, there's confusion. Let me clear up the confusion. I wasn't talking to you. Okay, there you go. And then you turn.
It sounds really
no intent.
I would never say that normally. I went through a 10-second moment where I wasn't myself and I did not know what I was saying. I didn't know how it came across. People have that all the time. And so those 10 seconds, that's not me. That doesn't define me. You can't say in those 10 seconds he did this, so I know what he's like and I know who he is. I had a glitch, I had a moment where I wasn't thinking straight. And people do that all the time. And I'm telling you, I tell myself this a lot. When people sometimes will say something to me, and there's that sting because it was said carelessly with words that have some bite to them. I've gotten to where I'm pretty good at saying they didn't know how that sounded. They didn't know how I took that, or they didn't know how that would come across. And some people, it's a lot worse than others. Some people are just extremely direct and they don't know that they can say something that would hurt because they're just being honest. And I'm not saying that he was just being honest by posting that. What I am saying is that you would do yourself a favor if you can try to say, he didn't know what he did. He didn't know how much that was going to hurt me. And he didn't know what the future held. He didn't know how he was going to feel. And I know that if you two are back together now, that there's some regret in that. And he may not know how badly it hurt you. I don't know what you told him. But just try your best to say that how I determine how this person feels about me is not based on some fleeting moments and some actions of the past. Try to look at the bigger picture. But just tell yourself, he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know how that sounded. He didn't know how that came across. It will help you feel better about the situation.
Yeah.
It usually does.
Yeah, can I hear you? You reminded me of something. It's like when we're just sitting around talking. You'll say something, I'll say something. But what you mentioned it earlier, the guy that trained us, a guy named Joe Bean, he mentions this, that there's kind of 3 stages. You fall in love, then you fall into conflict. A healthy relationship is going to fall into conflict. You stay in conflict long enough, you go to that numb stage. That numb stage is like reverse limerence. So I'm just backing up everything that Coach Lee said. It's like when you get to that numb stage, It's like your subconscious had reached into your brain and it starts rewiring things. You don't remember the relationship the same. People start saying things like, I've never been happy. You've never really loved me. I've never really felt excited about this relationship the way I do about this new relationship. And it really is like they're under a spell. So what Coach Lee's saying is it's so true. They don't know what they're doing. It's like they're not really in their right mind. You can come out of the numb stage, and it sounds like that's what happened, but it's really difficult. And don't take it personally. Don't hold them to the same level because that's not really who they were. And normally you get to the numb stage because you feel like you have been disrespected, unheard, and gave up on the possibility of the other person actually changing. So a lot of times, if your spouse is in a numb stage, you probably contributed to it more than you realize. So if they forgive you, you forgive them. In a healthy relationship, that's the best thing to do.
Yeah, and I do want to tell one more thing. There's a friend of mine. He's a fairly new friend, but he has a really big Instagram, um, channel, whatever you want to call Instagram. He has a really big Instagram following, and he actually did a few shorts, a few reels of me the other day where he was asking me questions because his Instagram is about financial success and just handling your money and looking out for your future. So he's in my office here. As a matter of fact, he's in this room where I'm recording now, and his book is over there on my bookshelf. And he made a joke. He saw that book and he said some kind of joke about like how many high quality books I had over here. And he was kind of pointing at his, and it was a joke, and he was playing around. And I don't know what came over me, but I looked at it and I said, "Oh, yeah, I read a few chapters and then I forgot about it." Just being honest. And the thing is, I know better than that. I'm not so direct that I'm rude most of the time, but every now and then, sometimes it just comes out, and you kind of reach for the words, but they're already in the other person's ears. And
Yeah.
fortunately, I apologize. I said, "Look, I didn't mean that the way it sounded. I just literally meant I need to pick the book back up. I was reading it and I got distracted. I need to read it again." Fortunately, he took it well and he took it with a laugh. But I really think a lot of him. He's a good friend, and I'm excited to be on his Instagram this week, as a matter of fact. So I only have positives. I had no intention of saying anything negative. It was just a momentary. Your brain gives you the answer, and sometimes you're not able to filter it before it gets out of your mouth. So just keep that in mind in those type of situations. Um, so let's go on to
Yeah.
the next one there, Keno.
All right, we got the blue cool. She still wants to be friends to see my changes over a long period of time to make sure they're real. She got angry when I said I can't be friends because I'm still emotionally attached. No contact. If it's okay, I'm gonna go ahead and ask if you can type more information. Like that's a pretty big thing to say, right? She wants to prove I can change over a long period of time. So I'd be curious, what kind of mistakes, what kind of things is this just like your imperfections, or did you kill her dog, or? But anyway, so I'll read it again. She still wants to be friends to see my changes over a long period of time to make sure they're real. She got angry when I said I can't be friends because I'm still emotionally attached. No contact? Question mark.
So the short answer is yes. No contact, definitely. It's it's no contact is one of those things. It's kind of like vitamin C, because vitamin C, if you go back and research it, was it Linus Pauling won a Nobel Prize for his research on vitamin C, and it does all these things in the body, including tissue repair. It helps with your dental health. It helps you fight viruses. It helps you fight bacteria. It helps with injuries healing. And there's so many things that it does, but because of the fact that we are so familiar with vitamin C, we kind of overlook it. We don't see it as this superhero vitamin. We just kind of see it as, oh yeah, it's vitamin C, big deal. I drink orange juice, you know. And so that's kind of how no contact is that I think that it's seen as such a something I talk about so much that it's not given its due, and it's almost seen as, yeah, but is there something stronger I can do? And people don't realize how strong it can be. But enough on that one for this one. So um, the thing about, oh, I want to be friends so I can see if you change. That's that's pretty
Yeah.
funny. But I mean, I get the logic that sounds like it makes sense, but You don't just get to back out of a relationship and observe someone and tell them, hey, if you get your act together, I'll get back together with you and I'm going to be watching you. That's kind of what she's saying. Um, and I think you did the right thing. And people get mad when you don't want to be their friend. It's not uncommon that they get mad because you're actually rejecting them,
Yeah.
you know, and they don't like to feel like you're rejecting them because there's that power trip of breaking up with you. Even if they're a good person, they don't want you to hurt, and it's not their intention, but come on, when you break up with someone, you feel it. I mean, you feel like you're more attractive than they are, that they're not, they don't deserve you. And yeah, you may be sad that they're hurting and it's awkward and you don't want to do it, but there is that other element that says, I'm breaking up with them because I can do better. And I'm telling you, that's what everybody thinks. Or else they wouldn't break up with you if they don't think they can do better than you. I don't like making human beings into things that we can improve on and outbid and go find better. That's not how we should view it at all. But I am saying that that's what people think when they break up with someone. That's one of the thoughts. It's not their only thought, but it's one of the thoughts. And so when you reject them, when they offer something like that, it changes the dynamics a little bit. It flips the coin because now you're the one turning them down. And because usually when they offer that, it's for potentially a few reasons, two or three. The first one would be they don't want you to get so far away that they can't get you back. And if you're friends and they can still talk to you and they're kind of checking, if you do ever get too far away and they change their mind, then they can get you back because you're friends and they're talking and they're not having to worry that you might not want to talk to them. The other thing is sometimes if they feel really bad about the breakup, they want to offer you friendship as a consolation prize. And that's drenched in ego because they're thinking, if I let him be friends with me, I'll be such a good person because I'm so sexy and he wants to be with me so bad. If I just let him get that little bit, he'll be so appreciative and that makes me a good person. I'm doing a good thing. So there's some of that, or it can be. I mean, that's one of the other options. The third option, or the third reason, is they will do that sometimes and they'll lead you on and say, let's be friends and then maybe we can get back together. And sometimes their intentions are pure. Other times they don't really mean that. They're saying that because they think in time things will die down enough and you'll just kind of go away or you'll just hush and they'll probably be with somebody else anyway and you'll be okay and celestial choirs will sing and everything will just be wonderful. So there's a lot to that question. None of them make you look good and none of them help you get the other person back. It just doesn't work that way, mostly because you put yourself beneath them. You basically say this, and after I say this part, I'm turning it over to Kim for this question. This is really important. When you accept friendship, you say to them, I am so hopelessly in love with you that you can break up with me and I will take whatever you're willing to give me because I can't be with you fully. And so what happens there is that you are basically, by your own actions, putting yourself beneath them because you're letting them create new terms. The relationship is now, we are just friends. You're letting them do that and you're willing to take it just to get a little bit of them. And so that is where you're injuring yourself by your own hand because you're placing yourself beneath them in terms of attraction. And we don't date people. We don't want to be with people who we find less attractive than us. We want equality where I'm a 9 out of 10 and you're a 9 out of 10. So we're good for each other. And I'm not talking just physically, I'm talking emotionally as well. But when we think I'm this number and this person's 3 below me, it's just human nature. We're not as interested. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's what you do when you accept friendship. It's not a good move. Ken?
Yeah, I no surprise. I'm going to echo what you said, and well said. But honestly, this is going to make me sound like I'm 75 years old. But the word that jumped to mind when I read that was of all the gall. It's like who. That's why I wanted to know. Wait, what thing does she need to monitor? Like, what horrible thing did you do? Like, I made a joke about, did you kill her dog? I mean, there are certain things that are imperfections. If it's an imperfection you're dealing with, then she's got an already overinflated ego that she can tell you, like, is she floating and levitating above the ground, above the rest of us? I'm going to sit back and watch you over a long period of time, not just to see if you make the changes. I need to see that you made the changes and that they're going to stick. In other words, I need to make sure that you're on my level and viable to date.
That you deserve me now.
Oh, just the level of arrogance to tell that to another person, unless you warranted it. I mean, I don't know the details, and I'm not trying to get you to divulge something you're not comfortable with. But if it's just like, if every couple has something they need to work on. I love my wife with all my heart. She's the love of my life. If she came home and said something like that, I'd be like, have you lost your mind? I'm going to become a better person for the honor of dating you. Wow. Let me see if I can audition next week. You tell me how far I'm missing the mark. And she's kind of like giving away a little bit of her hand, because if you're so bad that you need to prove that you can improve over a long period of time, wow, then why is she interested? If you did something so bad to warrant that kind of review process, then she should just walk away. What she's kind of revealing is that there's a part of her that, even now, as arrogant as that is to say, again, unless you warranted it somehow, she's not certain she wants to lose you, because people who know they want to break up, they don't say things like that. When you want to break up with somebody, the last thing you want to do is leave this little lingering hook in. But I will be watching you from a distance, and if things get, what she's really telling you is, if I regret this later, I want to leave the door cracked open. So take that little bit of encouragement, do exactly what Lee was describing, give her no contact. It's going to take a while. If you said, okay, well, hey, thanks for leaving me open for the review process, I would hand it back to her. I always say, and mainly have the same feeling on this: sympathy, pity, and guilt are attraction drainers. When somebody says something like that to you, hand it back to them. Hey, I appreciate you telling me that, but no, I'm going to be fine. If you don't want to be with me, I understand. As much as it hurts, I don't want to be with somebody that feels that way. So thanks for being honest. Show the strength to move on. Don't cling to that kind of thing. The last thing I'd do is hold on to that. Do you promise? Okay, when can I reach out? What's long enough? Don't do that. You're just stabbing yourself. So don't.
Yeah,
Did I date myself with the word gall? I mean, I probably shouldn't use that word, right? Does anybody use that word anymore?
That's a great word. I like that word a lot.
Yeah. When it applies, it's a good word for it, right?
The unmitigated gall.
I can imagine, like, just somebody telling somebody like Lee that. I don't know. I'm going to put you in a long review process. Be like, no, that's probably not going to fly. All right. So moving on here. The 55 days from the breakup of 6 years. She thinks it's best that we don't have any communication, but she used me as a reference for a job. I texted her about it, and we texted for over an hour. Now I'm confused.
She used him as a referral on a job?
Yeah, apparently.
That's interesting.
Right? After saying that we shouldn't have any contact. We shouldn't have any contact, but I'd still like to get some of the advantages of being associated with you. Does that be okay?
So what was his question there at the end? What should he do now? Or
Yeah, it just said the last two words are "I'm confused," and they're 55 days from the breakup.
okay.
I am curious when she used him for a reference, if it was recently or if it was like 55 days ago.
Yeah, that would be good to know, but not worth asking her about. But
Uh,
all right, so the first thing I'll say is kind of tilting negative, just in case. I'm going to tell you both sides. First thing I would say is that people use other people, and they're willing to uh, try things if they think they can benefit from it. So she probably thinks either there's no bad blood. Like I said, I don't know the situation. She may just think, we're just not good in a relationship together. The feelings faded, whatever, but she doesn't exactly wish you harm, and she doesn't think you wish her harm, and that there's still some general warmth between the two of you. Okay, so that's one option, that she thinks she can put you on there for that. The other one, the negative I was talking about, is that she's just thinking, well, maybe he'll say yes, maybe he won't, or she's thinking you want to be back together with her so badly that you'll give her a good reference if she puts you down. So those are the possibilities I'm thinking. And I just see this as her thinking that something about you, and I don't know the situation, but if you own a business, if you're a successful person who's respected in the business world, then she's probably putting it there because she thinks it's going to help her get a job. And she thinks either that you want to get back together with her and you do it to score points with her, or that you're just a good person and that there's not bad blood, and so you probably would, is my guess. I would not spend too much time wondering about that, because either way, it's self-serving, which, we have to serve ourselves sometimes. That's just how it works. But in this case, I don't think there's any clue here, that would say you should do something now. This clue is telling you what you should do, and you've just got to figure out these perfect steps and these perfect words, and then you'll get her back. And I encourage everybody who's listening to this, don't think that there's some special combination, that there's some hidden conspiracy theory in this breakup, that if you can figure out all the details and connect all the dots, that it'll tell you the exact thing to say and where to be and what to bring and what gift to buy to get this person back. Do not let yourself fall for that. It'll drive you crazy, first of all. And second of all, it's not true. And thirdly of all, if it is, if this person is really thinking that they're going to send you on this wild goose chase and make you have to figure things out for you to show up to have the privilege of hopefully them taking you back, then they're nuts. And we're talking about sociopathic or narcissistic here. If they're really trying to do that to you, that's not how you treat people. You don't, nobody's your dancing monkey. You're not going to try to put somebody through a maze of emotional obstacles with you as the prize.
Yeah.
If somebody's doing that, you need to go the other way, even if it hurts, because they will rip your heart out again one day, and you're going to probably watch them rip your kids' hearts out too, if you were to be with them and have kids. Ken, what do you
Yeah.
think?
No, I like it. I won't spend a lot of time because I think you said it really well. But 55 days, it's okay. That's kind of a dangerous number, it sounds like. But you were with her for 6 years. So, look, unless she's a sociopath or a psychopath or a really high functioning narcissist, she's going to miss you. That's human nature. We just kind of think the longer it goes, the further she gets away, the stronger she gets. 55 days after 6 years, that's still, I know it's really painful, but it's still relatively early. And I promise you, me and Coach Lee have both seen what hundreds, thousands of people come back after that amount of time. So don't let it shake you too much. And if she's using you for a reference, then that's a hint that there's still some hint of dependence, admiration. She sees the value in being with you. So don't let it trigger you into reaching out. Hold that position, but don't think that you're out of her mind completely, because that's very, very, very unlikely.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one then, if you don't mind.
You got it. All right, let me see. I suspect my ex is in a rebound. Spoke with her and she's depressed, but won't say why. She still had pics of me on her Facebook, said she's mentally working on things, but still wants to have sex with me. Any thoughts?
Well, that is something that I hear quite often, and I'm sure Ken hears it a lot too. And there's a simple answer, there's a complex answer, but the simple answer is, if you two are good together physically, that's not something that people just find every day, and nor should they, but it's also something that is hard to just stay away from. And so if the other person thinks that you are willing, then that's not that uncommon. And it can be really painful, because you might see it as a way to kind of to get back into her good graces, to win her heart again, that you'll have this great physical experience with her, and that will bring you closer. And I'm not going to lie, it can, because that's part of sex, is to really bring two people close together. There's a lot of chemical things that happen that connect you and bond you. And so it is a possibility. But there are some problems with that, because they are wanting something that's really special, and they're not wanting to be in a relationship with you to get it. They're thinking that they have access to it even if they don't have the relationship with you, which I get that some of that is appealing, that there doesn't have to be strings attached, and that you can still have that part of life with her. But the problem is that what it says to her can be that you are still willing to do whatever she wants you to do, and that she can kind of do that and maybe even find somebody else and not have to miss out on that part of life. And you're going to take care of that for her. And then she can just move on from you. And so it's tough. And I don't want to just sit here and say don't do it, because like I said, I have seen that bring people closer together. It's a tough situation, and it's complex. And some of that's just going to be what you decide. If I were you, I would start over as far as the dating process. I would feel like you're going back to day one, and you're going to focus on the experience she has with you, making it a great one. And so she can remember kind of how she felt early on. But she leaves and she's had this great experience with you. And I'm not just talking about sex. I'm talking about conversation. I'm talking about um, you can use this even to take her on dates. So you say, let's say she wants to get together. You say, okay, there's this new restaurant I'm wanting to try. It's over on South Side. It's a new one. It's a surprise, but let's go there. I really want to take you there because I want to try it too. Just something like that. The wording can be massaged a little bit, but you're working this in. You're basically, without discussing it and saying, hey, are we dating again? Or are we boyfriend and girlfriend again? Are we together again? Don't do any of that. Actions speak louder than words. Take her out. Start over. Start the process over. So you two are going to talk. You're going to share details and facts and feelings and stories about your life. And it's going to be a great experience because it must have been, or you two wouldn't have gotten together to begin with. So you can do that. It's within you. And you just start over. And don't mention it. Don't say, we're going to start over, or this is our first date. Just don't talk about it. When you talk about it, it's kind of like making something clinical that's romantic. It really takes the shine off of it. So don't do that. Just focus on the experience. Laugh. Have a great time. Have a great meal. Have a beautiful date together. Don't call it a date. If she tries to get you to put a label on it, don't do it. Just say, I just really like being with you. I like when we're together. Let's just focus on that. And that can make everything else work. So that's what I would suggest in that situation. The rest of the details, you can figure out for yourself, but just keep your eyes wide open. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah. I would say, look, the situation. Like Lee said, it's complicated, right? Sometimes it can really backfire. Sometimes it can actually pull people back together. But I think since you're the one in the relationship, you'll know if you're having sex with her and she's getting the reassurance of your presence and intimacy, then one of two things is going to happen. She's going to use you for training wheels to learn how to live life without you because she knows you're there. Every time missing you or the absence of you gets too strong, well, she can turn to you and there you are. So you essentially help train her how to live life without you.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. If that's what's happening, stop. If on the other hand, and I don't know, like we don't know the details on this situation, but we've both seen it where maybe that lack of intimacy or that lack of feeling wanted, respected, admired is one of the things that caused the end of the relationship. In those situations, a good person, you could say maybe an authentic person who's not just trying to use you, a lot of times when they get that intimacy, that connection, that sense of being valued and wanted, it actually kind of tears down the walls and pulls them out of what we called the numb state in the last answer. So it depends on the situation and the person and the details. It really does. There's not, in some situations, there's not a go-to answer. If being with them and having those intimate moments is rebuilding that sense of connection, then sometimes that does work. If they're just kind of using it and remaining emotionally unplugged, almost like okay, good, thanks. That was a pit stop I needed. All right, take care, bye. Then you're probably getting used and it's not going to help you. It's actually going to make it more difficult on you because you're holding on to hope that's not really there. And they're devaluing you even as they're using you sexually. So I hope that helps, but that's what we've seen. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Cool. Okay, so tried most techniques of moving on and still unsuccessful after half a year. Ideally, I would love to forget. How long can this last? I've heard it can take years.
Okay. So that's really tough, and I'm sorry that you're going through that. I know what that's like, and I talk to people who know what that's like as well. So one of the best things you can do, especially since a year has passed, is doing your best to interact with other people. This is a man asking?
It just says MNK, so I couldn't tell for sure.
Okay. All right. I'll just assume it's a man because it's easier to refer to one or the other. So finding another woman, and I say finding one, but you know what I mean in terms of making some effort, trying to go on some casual dates with some people and seeing what you think, what you feel, because a lot of people have told me that when they just do something that simple, yeah, at first they're thinking about this other person and the people in front of them are they're seeing all their flaws, but in time, especially if you go on a second or third date with someone, then you start to feel some of that connection. You can even go into limerence. And this is where limerence can really work in your favor because limerence will make you forget this other person if it's been a year. Now, if it's early, like if it's only been 3 months since the breakup or two, then it's harder for limerence to fully do that. But usually, if it's been a year and you can find a way to feel a little bit of limerence with someone, it's going to be a lot easier for you. Now, the challenge is going to be that you're not just filling that placeholder or that spot in your life, that you actually are wanting a future with this person or think you do, think that you might. So what I'm saying is I'm not just saying find somebody so you can feel some limerence and use that person to get over this other person. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that after that amount of time, if it had only been a month or two or three or maybe four, I would probably tell you don't try to do that yet because you do need time to heal and grieve. But after a year, you kind of need to give yourself a little push. And that's one of the ways to do it is to get yourself around other people. Another thing that you can do is you can make a negative list. And I've talked about this before, and it's probably not new to a lot of people, but some people might be new to. That is, you get out a flashcard, so you get something like this, and you write down every negative thing you can think of, including mean things they said, hurtful things they said. Even try to remember one night when her breath smelled and write that down. I mean, every negative you can think of. And whenever you start feeling things you miss, or when you start missing her and feeling those things you don't want to feel, pick it up and read about all the negatives. Because at the moment, you're probably only thinking of one or two negatives. But if you have the card with you and you know where it is in your where you live or where you work, maybe you bring it with you, you put it in your pocket or your wallet or something, keep adding to it. And I've had people do this. At first, they're like, yeah, I come up with like 2 things. But then 3 or 4 days later, there's 7 things on the list. Then a week later, there's 10 things. And they're like, I hadn't even thought about it, that she had all these negatives. And it really can help because nobody's perfect. And a lot of times, if we want to, we can play games with our mind and we can really focus on some of those negatives. And you just know that when you're feeling lost like this, you're overlooking a lot of negatives. You've got rose-colored glasses on for this person, and it's not real. It's not realistic. So, that's what I would suggest, and that's probably the easy answer. But it's the easy answer because it works a lot. Ken, what do you think?
Yeah, I love the cue card thing. It works. And there was a time in my life when I used it, and it can sound cruel. It sounds petty, but look, when you're in no contact or after a breakup, you're under a spell. I mean,
Yeah.
you're in more pain. Your sense of reality has been warped. Your sense of rejection, your sense of worth is all kind of under attack. So, and it's similar to that. It's similar to that the cue card trick you're talking about, or the index card. One of the things that can work is when you have those mental tormenting thoughts. Like I'll even share one from years and years ago, but I used to have one where she was like laying in my arms and she's looking up at me with these tears running down her eyes. And she says something like, I've never known what it's like for a good, strong, heroic man to love me the way you love me. I'm just afraid you won't want me later. Well, when she said that, it was like somebody just built these connections to my heart and I was making all these internal vows. I'll never give up on her. I'll know no matter what it costs me, she's going to know that I fought to stay with her till my last drop of blood, my last sense of whatever it takes. Well, when she ended up discarding me and I was in no contact, anytime I had that thought, it was a temptation for me to prove to her that I was still fighting to show her how enduring my love is. But all it was doing was making it more difficult on me and making it easier for her to see me at lower value. So I started kind of remembering that thought, but she was a giant anaconda. Now that sounds petty, but we're just talking about mental framing techniques, because by the end of it, she had so abused and disrespected and tormented me that the reality is imagining her as an anaconda was much more realistic than remembering as that sensitive, wounded, crying in my arms woman that made me want to defend and excuse any kind of mistreatment. So those kind of techniques can actually really help. I know it sounds petty, but it just kind of helps almost reset your vision of reality. The other thing is accept the hurt. Like instinctively try to push it out. Don't try to push it out and don't allow yourself to become hyper fixated on it. Just kind of carry it. Just accept that that hurt is with you, but tell yourself no matter how much I love them, no matter how much it hurts, I have a minimal boundary of respect that love them or not love them, I'm not going to tolerate. I'm not going to allow myself to accept. So that way you're not trying to push it out and deny it because that only magnifies it.
Yeah, and y'all, that's such a good answer. And that's another reason I recommend getting a coaching session with him because he has so many experiences to draw from. But what he said there, I won't do it justice, but I feel like I want to say more about it because it was such a good thing that he said. And that is this idea that your pain now in the breakup, that eventually, if they think, wow, it's been 8 months and you're telling me you've still been holding on, you you've still been wanting me back, you've still been crying, you've still been hurting. See, you feel like if they knew that, that would warm their heart so much that they would say, even while I broke up with you, you still wanted me. You
Yes.
still waited on me. You still hurt for me and all those things. And you think that that's going to really win them over. And I understand why you think that, but it's not. It actually
Yeah.
doesn't matter that much because what matters more is about how they feel about you, how attracted they are to you. Your part of that is only important if they feel it towards you. In other words, if I'm walking along, okay, down the street and I see someone who I don't find physically attractive at all. Matter of fact, it's one of those situations where it's like, wow, if it was me and her as the only two people left in the world, the human population would end. That kind of situation, be honest. We all have eyeballs, and some people we're attracted to, and some people we're not. So I'm saying if you see that person you're not attracted, that's not attractive to you at all, if you found out later that they were head over heels in love with you, would it change the fact you were not attracted to them? No, it would not. It would not. That's how attraction works. And so don't think you can torture yourself and win points with them ever. Okay? And I heard him say that for the first time a year and a half or two ago. And like literally, I was speechless. I was like, that is the best thing I have ever heard. He was
Thanks,
dead on
man.
the money. Okay. And you can book a call with him. I've got the link right here. But that's why he was the first coach I ever brought on my staff. And that's why right there. I mean, where do you hear that? Nobody else is talking about that kind of stuff. All right.
Brother. I got you, man.
Yeah.
Mental health. Okay, let me see. All right, 4 months he processed. 4 months he processed to divorce. Let me see. Let me try to read this. 4 months ago, he processed a divorce and moved to another. He's going to move to another country soon. He broke up, but still wants to be in touch. I try to keep no contact, but he keeps reaching out. All right, and I found out he's got hookups lately. All right, I'm gonna try to say that again. 4 months ago, we filed for divorce. He's going to move to another country soon, but he's still in contact. And even though she's trying to do no contact, but he keeps reaching out. And then lately, she found out he's also hooking up with other people.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
So with marriage situations like that, when they stay in touch, it's difficult to know exactly the importance or value that could have simply because sometimes when you're married to someone, you have to talk to them. If you have property or children or finances that are still outstanding, you have to be in touch with them. And so we can't say, oh, well, they're still in touch with you. They must still feel something. But we can't say that that's not the case either. So it's really challenging. I wish I knew what he was contacting you about and how often. But there's two major problems here. He's planning to leave to move out of the country, and he's hooking up with people. So really, that's going to tell you the majority of what you need to know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the divorce is final or if it's just being processed or what. But while he's off somewhere else and he's hooking up with other people and going to leave the country, yeah, I wouldn't be initiating contact with him. I'd definitely let him come to you. When he does, I would talk to him and I would be casual but polite. And if he's nearby, then I would say something like, "Well, before you leave the country, let's have coffee," because you kind of have to take your chances here and there. But otherwise, you're very limited if he's doing what you're describing. However, with something that's involving a marriage and that situation, I'm not just saying this at all. I'm just being 100% honest because there's so many questions that both of us would want to ask. But I would wholeheartedly suggest you book a call with Ken about that because um, when we're talking about a marriage possibly being dissolved, you do want to try to exhaust your options before he leaves the country. And I know he's hooking up with other people, and if that's a deal breaker for you, it doesn't sound like it is, or you wouldn't be asking about it. But that's a bad thing, and I hope that you can really try to internalize that um, he has really injured your marriage by doing this. That this is something where the term they used to use was violating the sanctity of your marriage. So try to feel the injury of that. Try to understand just how bad it is that he did that. And hopefully you can even start to think that maybe that's a deal breaker, that you don't want to be with him because he did that. But if I'm not saying you'll feel that right away, but I would suggest the call with Ken because I know we both are wanting to know what he's saying, why is he calling, what's happening when you do talk or you get in together. But I would not initiate contact with him at all. And I'm going to turn it over to Ken for this question. I'm going to adjust my lighting, and so I'm going to disappear for a sec. But Ken's going to answer on this one.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I would say, and kind of following up on what Lee said, which I would agree with. There's let's say there's a good guy version and a bad guy version. And this is going to sound a little strange, but when somebody's hooking up with other people and they're staying in contact with you after they file for divorce, most of the time, clearly, that's probably not a good person. They're probably not what you'd call somebody with authenticity or sincerity, somebody that you would consider trustworthy. In some situations, though, if they're doing that because they felt like in the relationship they were unheard, they were ignored, and I don't have time to kind of create a scenario that paints the full picture. So please trust me when I'm telling you. I'm not saying be open and be a stepping, don't be a doormat for somebody. I don't mean that. But there's the good guy version and the bad guy version. We've both seen people who have been so neglected, unheard, and devalued over years of a marriage that they finally hit a breaking point and they get out. And a lot of times when they get out, it's almost like they take advantage of the fact that they're now in that numb state. And a lot of times they'll still hook up with the person they're leaving, but they'll hook up with other people too. It's almost like they're enjoying this new sense of being invulnerable to what you think and what you feel about them. And if that's the case, give them as much leeway and understanding as you can to try to save the marriage. I'm not saying violate your sense of self-worth. I'm not saying tolerate disrespect or abuse. I'm not saying that. But the other one is just kind of the more traditional view of behavior that's so far out of line. And I want to say that very clearly. The behavior, good or bad, is out of line. Pain doesn't justify not having integrity and not honoring your marriage vow. So I'm not trying to justify it at all. But if this is just the case of a manipulator, a narcissist, and somebody who just doesn't really care about your feelings and they're just using you to hook up, as painful as it is, maybe him leaving the country is the best thing for you because it does help you with no contact. And the best plan to get over somebody is identical to the best plan to get them back. It's no contact. The difference is you don't have to decide which one you're going to do until it draws them back. So if it's the good guy version, try to be as understanding as you can. I'm not saying it's an excuse. I don't know the details. So I'm kind of talking out of an infinite well of possibilities right now. I'm afraid this is going to sound like I'm saying, it's okay, just forgive and move on. I don't mean it that way. So I hope what I'm saying makes sense.
Yeah, and on a call, that's where Kim would probably be asking what happened when he wanted to leave, what was said, what was done, because sometimes there's some outstanding things that need to happen, but we don't have the details for that. But let's go ahead and go to the next one, Ken.
All right. Let's see. We got. She wrote a long text message saying she wants me back after dragging my dignity into the floor during the breakup. So I told her thank you, but I'm okay. But I hope you're doing fine. I don't want to seem like she should have me back so easily.
Yeah, yeah. I get that. So what was the can you would you mind just reading that one more time?
Yeah, no problem. She wrote a long text message saying she wants me back after dragging my dignity into the floor during the breakup. So I told her thank you, but I'm okay. I hope you're fine. But I don't want to seem like she could have me back so easily.
Okay, so I'm assuming there that he does want her back.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. Yeah, because he said so easily. He didn't say I don't want her
Yeah.
back. So yeah, I'm going to assume that.
I understand what you're saying, and sometimes people do that. The gamble you're taking is that if you want them back and she's wanting you back, and you two are at that moment, it's possible that could be a fleeting moment, and that she could. Then you're playing the game of do you go to her and say, okay, I want you back, and then she's going to try to get revenge on you, which would just go forever. So that's obviously not what you want. What I'm guessing you're hoping will happen is that she will kind of do it again, and she'll talk to you about it again and keep trying, and you'll start to feel like she's done enough to earn you back. And when someone has broken up with you and left, there should be an amount where it's like they're earning you back. They're having to have some humble pie, and you're reserved, and it's not just like it was when you two were back together, when you two were together. That's why in your situation where it's perfectly reasonable for you to say that you want her to earn you back more, that you feel like that you shouldn't just take her back so quickly because it makes you look bad. That's where I suggest in a situation like that that you would give her a little bit but not all of it. And so you would say, I'm open to getting back together, but I'm not 100% sure. So let's just take it one day at a time right now. It's the perfect answer because you are not giving her the whole thing back. So your dignity is not going to be harmed, and she's going to have that feeling that it's not like it was, and that she does have to prove herself some, and that's fine. That's how it should be. So that's the ideal thing that you would do in that situation. You've already told her no, and I would love to know what words you used and how recently that was. And that would make a coaching call with Ken a great thing for you as well. But if I were you, just based on what you told me, I would wait and see if she contacts you again. Hopefully, she will soon. My guess is it won't be with her saying, "Hey, I want you back." That it will be like something casual. How are you doing? What's going on with this? Because she's probably going to want to try to stay in your life a little bit and hope that you will soften. So if that happens, then I don't know that she's going to use that wording again and ask for you back. That's one of the problems of rejecting them when they first ask. That's why saying, I'm not sure, let's take it one day at a time is so much better. But that's going to be the issue is she's probably not going to say it again, but she might say something about missing you or thinking about you or remembering a date you two were on. And it's sort of a segue for you to bring it back up without, saying, hey, when you said you wanted me back, not that way. But if she said something like that she missed you or that she was thinking about you, then that's where you can say, well, let's take it one day at a time. So it's almost like you're assuming that what she's really saying is that she wants to get back together with you. So you could say, well, let's take it one day at a time. I do miss you, but I want to take it one day at a time because I'm just not fully there yet. I hope you understand. If you say that, if she still wants to get back together with you and her heart is in the right place and she's not arrogant and ego inflated and all that, then she's going to agree with that. And you two can start, just like I told someone earlier, start over, start the process over. Like you're on date number one. You're going to have a great time together. You're going to share the facts and the feelings of your life together. And not your life together, but you're going to share with each other the facts and the feelings of your life. And you're going to take things like you would if it was a first date, which means that you two are not 100% steady, committed in a relationship, but you're working that way. So that's what I would suggest in a situation like that. And you may have to get the recording of this and find, where I'm talking about it again, because I know there was a lot to kind of process there. Go ahead, Kim. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I just feel I I really want to know the details.
Yeah.
Like, for example, we both mentioned borderline a while back. Borderline can be really damaging, toxic, and abusive when they're devaluing you after a breakup.
Yeah.
You can go from treating you like the love of their life to somebody that they had to scrape off the bottom of their shoe. So if it's kind of that situation, then I highly recommend making them hurt and making them hurt to get you back. Okay, I immediately regret how I worded that, but what I mean is they have to have a real sense of loss and a fear that they can't easily get you back to stick when they come back. If they can pull you back too easily, then they're not going to stay very long. So without knowing the details, when you said dragged your integrity or dragged your dignity into the floor, I know what that feels like. So depending on what that was, then I would say, yeah, make them earn it a little bit. A lot of times saying no initially brings them back with more force, more humility, and more intensity so that you really have a chance at a long-term relationship afterwards. But I would say too, don't risk what you don't have. If she disappears, like ask yourself the honest question. If she disappears and you never hear from her again, can you live with that decision? If you can't, then don't do a bluff because a lot of times they'll be able to sense it and you never know what's going to happen. So it sounds like a reasonable boundary you're drawing. I'm all in favor of that. But if it's not, just make sure you know what you're gambling with.
Right. It is a gamble. Okay. Remind yourself that that was a gamble. And everybody who's thinking about doing that, that is a gamble. And I think the way that I suggested is probably the gives you the best odds and is healthier than just a complete rejection, hoping they'll come
Yeah,
back and try it again.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would say okay. So kind of coming up on the timeline now. We got see looks like two more questions, and I wanted to add a quick shout out. Tracy, Yasmin, and Julianne all gave just super chat donation without a question. So
Thank
thank
you
you for
very
that.
much. Who was that again? What are their names?
Tracy, Yasmin, and Julianne, and we just got another one from Richard Alexander.
Well, thank you, Richard. Thank you, ladies. Really appreciate it very much. It's an honor to be given a super thanks.
And okay, Juliana added a testimonial. Coach Lee, thank you for your program. After 2 months of no contact, he came back. Now the ball's in my court and things feel much more clear, and I'm a stronger person. So, mental standing round of applause. So,
Well, that's awesome. I'm really honored. It's I'm trying to think of the right word, but it's such a privilege and honor, and it's one of the highlights of my life when people are helped by some of the some of the things that I've learned over the last 20 years. So I appreciate you telling me that. It never gets old, and I think Kim would agree
yeah,
with me. I mean,
absolutely.
it never gets old to hear people getting back together and the excitement when people are telling you that and how happy they are in that moment. Uh, it's a blessing to hear that. So I really appreciate you giving a testimonial like that.
Yeah. It really does create that warm feeling in your chest, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, because when Ken and I, we're great friends. We go on vacations together. We hang out together a lot, and we'll talk about those. We'll say, oh, this person, I thought they were in a terrible situation. I was even thinking the odds were kind of low, but I said, if anything works, this will. And then guess what? They got back together. Those are kind of our war stories. Those are our highlights. We really enjoy those. So I appreciate that very much.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like the last question of the evening here. We got I refused her friendship offer, and then she blocked me on social media. I'm at no contact for 2.5 months. Later, she unblocked me, but she still hasn't reached out. I'm now at 3 months of no contact. Is she getting closer?
Sounds like it. I mean, there's been a back and forth, obviously, but the thing is, you've stayed strong, and she's tried to play some games, but you've seen her back off a little bit. But it does sound like she's beginning to move forward a little bit. And she's probably, based on the timing of this, did he say 3 months?
Yeah, I'm trying to do the quick math here, right? It seems like two weeks ago, 2.5 months. I'm not sure what the okay. Yeah, so 2 weeks ago, they unblocked her.
Okay, so based on the timing, it's a good sign. And there's some confusion there, and she probably feels like she's done something, that she's lost a bet in some ways, because she's beginning to feel some things for you, and she's probably regretting the breakup, but she isn't sure 100% that she wants to get back together yet. That's my guess, just based on the time frame, based on some of the activity. But I can tell you this much: she's definitely not certain she wants to be away, or else she wouldn't be unblocking you and those kinds of things. So that's a great sign. People always ask if they unblock me, is it a good sign? Yes, it is, because that means that they're opening the door to contacting you at some point, and they're probably trying to get you to do it right now. Don't fall for that. Okay, don't fall for that one. But the only reason you would unblock somebody is if it was okay for you two to talk again. And the only reason it would be okay for you two to talk again is if there was something important to talk about. In other words, she just doesn't want to chit chat with you, or else she wouldn't go to all the trouble of unblocking you. You don't say, this person was so aggravating and annoying that I'm going to block them. And then a few weeks later, like, yeah, we can chit chat. It just doesn't work that way. You just kind of assume that person is still annoying and is still going to bother you and frustrate you. That's usually an assumption. And over time, it can fade some, but you don't just open it up for chit chat for no reason. Usually it's for something more than that, because that time has changed you and you look at the person differently now. So if she didn't look at you differently, you'd still be blocked. Right, Ken?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, brother. I like when you said, "Don't reach out." Yeah, it's a good sign.
Yeah.
Just don't take that good sign and be like, "All right, good. She wants me back. I'm gonna jump through the front window. Hey, I'm back." Like, no, just look,
Mm-mm.
feel reassured and confident that it's working. And Lee said this too. It's not like she just unblocked you. People don't just have the thought and then do the action. That's a strong indicator that she's been thinking about you. So it's been kind of wearing on her.
You're
So
right, right.
yeah, got to that point after the anxiety and the thinking about you got to a certain tipping point. So just take the encouragement, but yeah, go back and listen to what Lee just said. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, just keep staying away, because if it's working, you don't want to do something to stifle it. Let it keep happening. Let her keep moving towards you. These are very small things, but it's in the right direction. So don't do anything to mess it up. You're doing the right thing. That's why she's doing this. Um, a lot
Yeah,
of people, when they're blocked, they think that if they go have a conversation, that they can get unblocked and get this person to love them again. It's
yeah,
not effective when you do it that way. But look, you were in no contact, and what happened? She's unblocked you. So people may say, well, that's 2 or 3 months. She's probably moved on. Well, apparently not, because that means she had to think about you. She had to think about the fact that you're blocked and make the effort to go in there, go to your account, unblock you. This is not just something casual. It wasn't just a click. There was a lot of thinking, and then there was a lot of having to go through the motions and the headache of that. So it's a good sign, and you should be encouraged. Just don't do anything about it. Your role is
yeah,
still to let her keep coming towards you. That's the best long term, and that's the best now, because now she's going to start getting frustrated. If she wanted you to be the one to reach out, she's like, oh, I unblocked him. I was hoping he would make it easy on me. Now she's frustrated, and that's actually good. It's a good kind of frustration. Okay, it's kind of like foreplay. Foreplay is a little frustrating, but it's still a lot of
but
fun.
effective, highly effective. If you,
Yeah,
yeah,
but it's frustrating because
real
it's
quick,
moving you towards something.
yeah, I want to quote you to have a discussion about you, because a lot of times in a situation like this, and this might be a thought they're having. Okay, but it's been 3 months, and even though I just got good news or a good sign 2 weeks ago, I listened to Coach Lee's videos, and Coach Lee says after it hurts to a certain point, and like I'll have that kind of brought up sometimes in a call or a session, which always kind of makes me smile, because I'm like, Coach Lee, the guy that I talked to this morning, the guy I'm doing a super chat with later, like, so they might need to hear you say that. What you're talking about is, look, it's a consistent thing, but it's not an every time thing. So when they hit that 3 month mark, it doesn't mean, okay, now it's over. I better go ahead and write them a letter or show up with the flowers and do some kind of a gesture. It's like, No, that's not what you've ever said. Sometimes it takes longer than the 3 months. It doesn't mean it's a lost cause. It's just you're giving general advice so they can kind of have a general idea of what to look for.
Yeah, and when either one of us are responding, to these questions, we're actually taking the easy way out because both of us are going through the Rolodexes in our brain of all the things we've seen. And so when we'll say, no, 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 don't reach out, we're saying that because we've seen so many instances of a situation like that. And so we're like, oh, I've seen this before. I've read this book before. So, keep that in mind if you watch a replay of this or you watch Ken's videos or my videos, that when we're saying things like this, we're saying it because we've observed it and then we've tried to figure out why, and this is years ago, 15, 20 years ago. We're seeing these things and trying to figure out why that worked. So we just have the benefit of having seen a lot of things. So that's really the situation. But as we're going to wrap up here, I've got this written out right here. It's kind of small, so I don't know if all of you can see it, but book that call with Ken. You can do it at myexpatcoach.com/coach-Ken. His calendar's right there, and you can book a call with him, and it's an amazing experience. That's what people tell me, that it is an amazing experience to have a call with him, and that it will just blow your mind, and it's going to help you a lot. So book that call with Ken. This will be available in replay probably tomorrow, so you can go back and listen. And we do have the coaching training. So if you want information on that, it's on the website. You'll see on myexpatcoach.com, you'll see the link at the top that says coaching training. And I believe that's all for the announcements. We do have a Facebook group. I know Kim was sharing that with some people in the comments. And I don't have that link on me at the moment, but it should be on my community. If you go to my YouTube channel under the community tab and scroll down, you'll see me mention it. As a matter of fact, what I'll do is as soon as we're done here, go check the community tab. I'll link to the Facebook group. It's free to join. It's a support group of people who are going through what you're going through. And a lot of them are very, very familiar with both Ken and myself. And it's sort of like a lexicon of our information that they know. And so they can help you with that. And it's a great community. There's been lots of friendships made. So if you'll go, as soon as this video is over here, just go to my community, and within 20 seconds, I'm going to have the link there for you, and you can join that Facebook group.
Yeah. Hey, Kim Gordon just dropped it in the chat for you there too.
Well,
So
that's
hey,
convenient too. So everybody, if
yes,
you'll look at the chat right
yeah,
now, then you're going to see that link, and you can just click on it there. And I'm going to also post it in the community. So really appreciate everyone being here tonight. I hope you learned a lot and got some answers to your questions, and that it was an uplifting experience, and we want to have some more of these coming up soon.
yeah.
So thanks for everybody. Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, looking forward to it, man. I love the coaching course we're doing, so I'm pumped about it. And always fun. Always hanging out with you is always a good time, brother. So thanks.
All right, man. Well, everybody take care.